Greetings, class. Let's take a moment to talk about chapter number 8. In particular, this is a chapter about extra markup. By that, we mean there are some code elements that we can place in the HTML that are connected to other elements. The HTML is going to connect to cascading style sheets, JavaScript, and any number of languages by the IDs and the classes that we place on the page. So this is a quick video to sort of position ourselves for some future updates we're going to do in that regard. With no further ado, let me share my screen. Let's talk about it. So here we are. In terms of markup, there are various elements that we can add to a page while they quietly do their work behind the scenes. For instance, if I want the Google search engine, AI, many different things to help index my pages better, right in the head, we can have a description attribute. Metadata is a big thing in information science in terms of how we talk about data, indexing websites, really making sure that we can make things work better. So I can add a description, meta name description to a document that really talks about what this page is doing on this particular website overall. So I say meta name description, content, Dr. T web page, lesson home page. So this is our index page, and I've added this meta tag to better describe the content that we'll be discussing on this particular page. Now, users don't see this, but it is again, a behind the scenes element that's playing a role in the work that we're trying to do here. So there it is, another meta tag added to the head section of the document. It then becomes necessary as we evolve to upgrade our experiences. For the biggest part of these videos, I've been using a paragraph to hide our menu, but ultimately the navigation menu is going to need to be upgraded to an unordered list. In other words, I'm going to manually come in here and say unordered list. I'm going to use the ID equal menu. Okay. I'm telling it that it is a unique element on this system whereby the ID is equal to menu. I might want to do, and I'm certainly going to be doing some cascading style sheet elements on the menu throughout this course. In fact, I'm going to turn that unordered list actually into a menu that is dynamic, a navigation menu like you're used to seeing. So we're going to be typing kind of standard elements like we're used to, but ultimately these list items are going to become clickable menu items. And so what do you do to do that? Of course, every list must have a list item. Okay. Within those list items is where our magic is going to happen, because where traditionally I was placing a break and I was traditionally putting this here, these elements now become a part of a list, an anchor tag within a list. Okay. Back for expediency, I'm going to keep both of them up here for now, but I'm going to bring the paragraph menu here. And I'm going to just add list items to the front of each one of these. But again, the caveat being that we've added a meta tag and we've added a extra markup. Namely, we've said that the ID of this particular component is called menu, okay? And within this menu, we have multiple pages that are part of our wider system that we're working with. And in lieu of a break, what this does for us, I have a closing list item in lieu of breaks, okay? What does this do for us? And I'm also going to add for the list items purposes, I'm also going to add a chapter 8, which we're discussing now. Kind of bringing that over here. Chapter 8.html. Okay, he's going to play a role eventually in our world. But what have I done? I've added a list. Okay. And as we look at the preview, you can see that there's a bulleted list that's doing the same purpose, looks very similar, but not the same to our paragraph menu, but I still can navigate and get around and do what I need to do. Okay. That page doesn't exist yet, so that's going to go berserk. But right here, bulleted list, ID of this area is called ID menu. Okay. The unordered list has the ID of menu. Keep that in mind. Every once in a while, we may want to highlight some different things. So I might say, the following is a menu with paragraph tags. Okay. Okay. But I want to really kind of emphasize following. So within that, I can say span class equal, as per our example, highlight. In the CSS, then, I'm going to have the ability to do some fun things with that word following by putting it in the span. Okay. In the past, I bolded, I put it in red. That particular word can be highlighted with a particular background. We can do many, many different things with that from the cascading style sheets, which we'll link here eventually as well. So what we have here is a unique ID. Only one ID can exist uniquely. Menu. I can have multiple class highlights. For instance, if I wanted to highlight more than one word in a sentence, it's perfectly acceptable to make the highlight class usable on more than one element. It's be consistent and open and close your spans. And what I'm telling HTML is this particular word following, this particular word paragraph, are going to do some highlights specific to some code that I write in the future called cascading style sheets. JavaScript may also reference some of these IDs and some of these classes, as we saw in the previous example. In the previous chapter, JavaScript may use some of these elements as well. Every once in a while, I may want to put some comments that are just kind of specific to the coder. I love it. In green here is my HTML comment. The course will use the above list UL to replace the paragraph. Sometimes autocorrect gets in our way. So I've typed an HTML comment here, very, very powerful comment. This is ignored by the browser, but nonetheless, it plays an important role for coders and folks like us who come back and we want to edit and change some things as this website grows and evolves. That's important to kind of remember that we have ourselves a comment that's specific to coders and ourselves in the future. So what we're talking about in this particular chapter is how parts of HTML work very quietly together behind the scenes, IDs, classes, and comments and meta tags, grouping elements together, making sure that things come together well. One thing I want to show you in conclusion here, as I get ready to build this out, is in the body, we might have what's called a division. And you got to get used to dividing your code up. And I'm going to call this ID equals, per example, main content. What we're telling HTML is everything within this group here is part of the main body of the page, okay? And I tabbed everything in, see if I can bring that out a little bit. I tabbed everything in so that we could see, okay, that the div is going to end right here. So the main content begins here and it ends there. I placed everything in this within the content called main content. We are starting to divide, literally divide up the page in a way that makes logical sense for some future endeavors that we're going to do.